Are we there? Are we ready to go?
We're there.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to share a few slides with you before I hand over to Ali and to Jenny. So I thought let's have a little think about pioneering together. There's lots of things that I'm sure you've done, and I'm sure a lot of you are experts on this already. So I invite you to think on these things as we begin. So 4 things that I want to say to you to look out for as we're thinking about pioneering at this Christmas time. So listen out for these as Jenny and as Ali share. So I'm sure you're all familiar, as those that are part of churches, that Christmas is a thin space, both in the Christian world, particularly in Celtic spirituality, but also in other parts of spirituality, in spiritual places. Folks talk about thin spaces when heaven feels really, really close. So for us, as we think about pioneering, there's this time for us at Christmas, as people are looking to the stars, asking big questions. How do we look to engage with folks in those moments? And Christmas is definitely one of those, and perhaps even more so at this time of COVID and the pandemic. People are asking big questions about identity, about love, about meaning, about what's important in the world. And Christmas is this thin space where we and the whole church can step into those thin spaces and speak of God when people perhaps feel closer than they normally do in the busyness. We're going to think about scattering wide with the long-term view in mind. Pioneering at its best does not work in isolation. It's about part of a long-term plan of reaching new people in new places. Think of it as almost the echocardiogram. You've got the long line, and Christmas is a moment of beating and connecting with that line, and then flipping up again, and then maybe there's another event at another point. This rhythm of connecting with new people. We could all do really creative events once a year at Christmas. But unless they connect to a longer view and a longer vision of what we're trying to do, then perhaps they're not as worthwhile if we don't connect them to a wider ministry or a wider work of planting a new community or connecting with new people. Also, the great thing about pioneering and its gift to the whole church is that we embrace mistake making. It's not that pioneers are better than anybody else, it's just they perhaps push more doors and are able to make more mistakes. And the more mistakes you make, actually, there's the more opportunities of doing something right. So let's be courageous and brave at this time. Let's think about our context as we come today. What are those opportunities that have arisen because of COVID? What are those big steps we can make just to try something different, to pioneer in a new way? And then, like no other time, pioneering is an opportunity to be attentive. It's a time to listen to ourselves. Actually, as we push ourselves to new contexts and new places, an important place to listen is to ourselves. Are we feeling vulnerable? Are we feeling inspired? Are we feeling this is a place that God is calling us to go? Do we feel stretched in what we're doing? But also, as we encounter people at this thin space time, what are they sharing with us? What are they? What are the things we're learning from them about how we can shape a church or a community or a ministry that pioneers a new thing for them, rather than expecting them to come to what we do already? And of course, there's always being attentive to where God is leading. Now, people often ask me, do you think Jesus was a pioneer? Now, I think he was, because I think Jesus really understood what it was to go with a hunch. Now, a lot of people laugh at me who have heard me before, because this is the only Greek word that I know, really. It's the only thing I picked up when I was studying to be a minister. And it comes from Mark's Gospel and the feeding of the 5,000. So here's this passage. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. That Greek word for compassion has its root in splanchnon, which is about the guts. It's about the inward parts. So you could read that as when Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, his tummy turns. He felt it in his guts. He had to do something. It wasn't about head knowledge. It wasn't about thinking through a nice strategy. It was about feeling it in his guts. And I like to think that pioneering every time, but especially at this time of year, as we think about Christmas, as we think about thin spaces, pioneering is about following that hunch, trying to go with where we feel instinctively or intuitively, where we can begin something new, trusting less the structures and the way we've always done things, and going with a hunch, sniffing something out where we feel God is calling us to go. So I wonder what your gut feelings are about your communities this Christmas. Where is it you feel you could start something, begin something new or different? And I've put Noel in the corner there because that's the moment. Noel has its root in the Latin, which is about birth, beginning, about something new. And Christmas is all about something perhaps being birthed, something beginning. That comes from our instincts and from our guts. So I want to say to you today, remember to go with your guts as you're thinking about what you might do this Christmas, because that is something that is a really pioneering instinct, which we see Jesus using when he was ministering to the people he encountered. So I'm going to hand over now to Ali, who's going to share with us a few of her thoughts. She's going to tell us a bit about herself and about what she is doing, and then perhaps inspiring us with her story about what we might do this Christmas. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Over to you, Ali.
Hi everyone, it's great to be with you. Just to tell you a little bit of background, I'm in a large rural village between Tavistock and Plymouth, which is called Horrobridge. I've just completed 3 years pioneering there. For the first 2 years, I did very little, but just be a presence in the village and to listen. And so I've just been journeying through and just trialing out a few different things. So we very quickly gathered the Christians and formed home groups and prayer groups. So in our village, we have 2 pubs, a beautiful post office and bakery, a fish and chip shop, a school, quite a large school of 250 pupils, where I actually used to teach for 4 years. So that allowed me to know quite a few of the families. And we also have a C of E church, which is predominantly used by the older congregation and a couple of families. So the first 3 years, I've been trying out lots of different things. We've got a radio station, so I managed to get onto the radio station. I actually spend quite a lot of time in the pub down there, just journeying with different people and listening. Being on the school gates is also really helpful. So I've been watching and listening for a good 2 years, trying out different things like parent support groups, pub nights, a book club, community book share, and just getting a feel for what the community really needs. There is part of our community that has a military background. And so, you know, the military is really important. So this coming Sunday will be an important day for our village. And it also is a lot of families. The village is split with a bridge, and actually one side is quite wealthy and the other side is not as wealthy, with a lot of families. So during COVID, I found myself being given the opportunity to really watch what was happening, and there was a lot of fear. Also in our community, the people that I'm journeying with at the moment, they don't want church. They don't, you know, I've already gathered those Christians, and they're already part of a church. The building that we have in our village has been derelict for 12 years. So I am working without, one place. I'm working without a building. I also work on my own. So I use all of the places in the community to gather different people. We're now sort of working with the unchurched, and a lot of people say to me, I don't want you to push Jesus down my face, and so I'm really sensitive to that. Evangelizing is something that it's just my natural gift. So I kind of just talk about Jesus in a really natural, non-threatening way, just drop it into my sort of daily conversations, and that has broken down many boundaries. So through COVID, we've been able to create something called Horrobridge Love Your Neighbour. And it was really about the church reaching out and breaking down those misconceptions without pushing scripture and prayer and faith onto people. And so, Matt, I don't know if you can just sort of share the photos now, please. So very quickly, I was able to ask somebody in the community who is a designer, a web designer, and he came up with a logo. So we wanted our logo to be a church logo, but not to be over the top. And through COVID, we offered phone buddy, friendship buddies, prayer buddies, free gardening, mental health support, IT, newspaper drop-off, messages of hope, which I'll talk about in a moment. But our key thing and how we reach the community, and when we've gone through all of this, you'll understand why it's linking into the Christmas theme. It was reaching out with people through cupcakes, and the cupcake ministry has just been incredible. It's allowed us to love the people in our community as a church in a non-threatening way, without asking anybody to sort of be partaking in any groups or trying to get them to church. So I'm really meeting them where they're at. We deliver in little brown paper bags with our logo on them, and in each bag is a contact card of what our project is all about, and a handwritten message with scripture on it, as you can see up in that top corner. So we are offering sort of a support system, and it's through that I've been able to connect with a lot of people in the village. So if we just have the next slide, please, Matt. So, okay, we've delivered well over 1,000 cupcakes through COVID. My volunteers are the unchurched, and we have the most amazing times. They see me pray for people. They are experiencing the love of God. You know, one of my volunteers sort of said, you know, I really experienced this love for people when we go out. And I was able to share that actually that's the Holy Spirit. So what I've done is I've looked at the people, the places, and the passions. So I've noticed that in our community, we have a great cake baker. She's got her own business. So she has actually baked the cakes for us. And then I've looked at people that are of peace. And so I've gathered those people of peace, and we've gone out, and we're just going out with love, showing actually the love of Jesus and the love of God through a cupcake has been really powerful. It's been allowed for us to relate to other people. We're hearing their stories, and we've been able to journey with them. Some people have now come to faith. They're part of the house groups, and a lot more people are open to the church, which is what we wanted. Thanks, Matt. You can just have a look at the next one. So we do wear those bright, embarrassing high-vis jackets, which we do have a laugh about. So through the next lockdown now, we've gone away from the cupcakes. We're now doing hot meals, and we're delivering hot puddings and meals to the elderly, to single parents, to the families in need. And we've this is the lady here with the little girl down in the bottom corner. That's our surrogate grandmother. So we're actually bringing the communities together for those who don't have families around. So there's a lot going on behind the doors at the moment, and this has just been a great way to just sort of really share the love of Jesus. The scriptures behind the whole project is Mark 12:39, when God says, you know, to love the Lord your God with all of your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. And the next commandment is to love your neighbor as yourselves. And you know, and that's also then brings in John 15:12. And so this is really about sharing light, about sharing love, and about sharing hope, without saying I'm a follower of Jesus. It's the church in action. And I've been witnessing people watching from afar. What is the church doing in these times? And so through Halloween, we were able to deliver light party bags, we, instead of doing the sort of the food, we went to the children and the families with 240 light party bags went out. One family in the whole community said no, but everybody else took them in, and that is unheard of. In previous times I would have done a party and not many, maybe 70 children would have come, but we were able to reach 250. So that's given us an idea towards Christmas. Thanks, Matt. If we can just have the next one. We also, outside of our building may be closed, but the church is very much alive. And so we use messages of hope on pebbles and wooden hangings. And these are also going to go out at Christmas, not only onto our railings, but also around the community, and to to put into our Christmas bags, which I'll talk about in a moment. These are funded by the church and donations. So the whole project, we've had over £1,000 in donations to keep the food going, as people have seen the real need there. We also have local churches giving money, and so I've also got a local artist who does this. So I know of a local artist in our community, and so I've just sort of, again, gathered her passion and her skill, and these will be used for Christmas with Christmas messages. Thanks, Matt. There's another one, I think. So last year, usually for the last couple of years, I've been working with the C of E Church. They've always done the services and the outreach, because I don't have a faith community team at the moment. And so we've done different parties and different nativity things and different services, as Candlemas, Christingle, and lots of different things at the church. But last year we did start off by doing something on our own, and that was the carol singing. Somebody said to me, wouldn't it be great if we could go out and sing Christmas carols to the community? And so I gathered a team of people that brought their lanterns, they brought their hats, they brought their children, and that then led into going out to the residential homes in our community. And I guess with COVID, if we're allowed to do this, we will do this again. Thanks, Matt. So our ideas for this Christmas, as I am journeying through the community and hearing what people are saying, and for me it was like Matt said, following that hunch. There's always a gut feeling in me where the Holy Spirit really stirs in my gut. And so I'm then thinking, I'm listening to people, and at the moment the children are saying that they're sad that they're not going to be able to visit Father Christmas. They're sad they're not going to be able to continue the Christmas traditions. And so I thought, why not take Christmas out to the streets, to our homes? I contacted a group of our community. They're called the Cavaliers. They're a group of men who help to fundraise. They've just donated us £500 to get our community Christmas bags out. Matt, I think there's one more slide. Be able to just move on and see if there is one more. I think there was one there of the Christmas ideas. Don't worry if not. So we're going to fund another 250 Christmas bags that will go out. And in those Christmas bags, the Cavaliers are going to help deliver. They've also agreed that they will get a vehicle dressed up as Father Christmas, and the Love Thy Neighbour team will go out with them. Again, we're sort of just regulating the whole COVID rules and whether we're allowed to have more than 6. If not, we'll abide by the rules and we'll still make it happen. I think the brilliant thing about pioneering is that there is a way around things. So in our bags, there will be a label with Christmas blessings written on it. Each bag will be prayed over. There will be the new Scripture Union story of the Nativity. And so our Christmas theme this year will be about a gift for a gift. Jesus was given to us as a gift for the gift. And so we are handing out those bags, and those bags, it will be called Christmas in a Bag. So it'll be a storybook of the Nativity. It will have a few nativity activities, a candle. Someone is making 250 Christmas cookies to go in the bag for the families, and a Christmas prayer. And so it's just another way of showing and getting the nativity story out to those that might not usually come to a church service. And so that's what we'll be doing. That's our first idea. Our second idea, continuing the thread of loving our neighbour and keeping our neighbours, nominating those in need. So we've encouraged our neighbours to look throughout where they live and to nominate those they know are going through a bit of a hard time or struggling. And we're able to visit people that maybe have just lost a loved one, even a child, fighting cancer, lonely, mental health. There's a whole range of things that people are dealing with, and we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And so by somebody else nominating them, we're able to then go to the doors. And that is the sort of the unchurched So I just put a feeler out there on Facebook. I've got 2 Facebook pages, and Love Your Neighbour has its own Facebook page where there's about 300 people that have gathered from the village, and I am able to put the feelers out and ask for people to volunteer. And it's been through that people have given money and their time. So the cake bakers offer their skills, the cookers have offered their skills, and so I've just gathered a team of people to try and make this outreach happen. So already I've contacted people that I know that will be able to bake for me. And the other thing that we'll be doing is feeding those that are going to be on their own. I'm really aware that mental health is a huge thing at the moment. Fear, darkness, you know, for people who don't have faith, this is a really scary time. They don't understand what's happening. We've got the love of God. We've got our strength in him. We know that we're part of a bigger picture. And so I just want to be able to give that hope to other people. And so the day before Christmas Eve, we have got around 30 to 40 cooked Christmas dinners going out to those in need. And that's just another great way of the church filling in the gap where other people are needing that support. And then my third idea is that we will be tying in around the nativity scene and the story and Jesus being our gift. I want to be able to show that he is a gift like no other gift. And I want to be able to put the nativity story out that's never been done before in a way that people will come to see Jesus for who he truly is. Because in our village, they don't know Jesus as they could do. You know, they see the church as the dog collar. It's boring. It's dull. It's so not like that. So I want people to see that actually the church are people of faith who love, who reach out. And again, a bit like the Good Samaritan, they go above and beyond to care for people in a loving way. And so we are using Scripture Union, the QR code, which is already prepared. It's a free resource. So we're going to be printing that. And again, people from the community are going to be placing those around the village with me. And the end of that trail will then go to the St. John's Church, the C of E Church, where we always have a festival, Nativity Festival, where different groups within the community create a nativity scene, and they are placed in the church. The church is opened and people can go and walk through and have prayer time and see around over 100 different nativity scenes that have been created by different people. So that's how we're looking at pioneering this Christmas. We're looking at the need, we're looking at what people are losing out on and how we can bring in and make a difference. And I just know that through the power of God's Spirit, he is going to be able to open up more ideas for next Christmas, and even then when our building is open. So those are the things that we're doing in Horrobridge at the moment.
Ali, thank you so much. It's great to be seeing all the chat that's going on. People are saying how amazing it is. There's some questions about how you've got round rules of COVID and food preparation. What I'm going to suggest is that when you go into breakout rooms, everybody, it will be myself, Ali, Emma and Jenny, and we'll go over these questions so we get some really good answers to those questions for you, not just ones that are off the cuff. So we'll be noting all these down and we'll answer them when we come back after our breakout rooms. But Ali, thank you so much for sharing for us. Now I need to introduce Jenny now, who's going to share with us some of the great things that she's been doing. So Jenny, over to you.
Hello, everybody. I might have just said, you know, Ali said it all. I'll just go and have a cup of tea, I think. Yeah, you know, our project works in Bristol and South Gloucestershire, so we're obviously a city and a rural area. I'm sure somebody will correct me. I think we've got about 43 maybe Methodist churches, maybe 44. And my project, The Ark, we was born sort of 8 years ago. I was a family worker before and had a real sense of wanting to take the church outside. It was very easy to speak to the people who were coming into the buildings, but I come from a community work background, so I'm always interested in the people that you don't see. rather than ones you did. So the ARC was a response to sort of getting out and being among people and working in community. So our remit is obviously pioneering, but we also work quite closely with our churches to try and engage them in their own mission as well. So we have a bit of a dual role. So, you know, the pioneering spectrum can be quite long, and you can go from sort of the church doors to some quite sort of extreme activities that we also do. So we try and cover all bases. So a lot of our Christmases in the past have been things that we can do within community as part of our team. There's 3 of us that work on the ARC, me and then 2 others, and we also work with volunteers and people that we've sort of rattled out of their cages who have sort of got an itch that they don't quite fit into church, but you know, want to explore other ways of doing something. And so coming out with people who are willing to take risks and do it alongside them sometimes helps people to do things that perhaps they wouldn't do, which is why when we work with churches, a lot of churches struggle with breaking out of their boxes of what's been done before. And we found that if they have somebody alongside them, probably from a different perspective, who are willing to kind of say, oh, we'll give it a whirl, what's the worst that can happen, you know, it'll be great, you know, they're more willing to try and do these things. So, you know, so each specifically Christmas, we try and do this sort of dual thing of community and church, and speak back into our churches as well as speaking out into the community. Our project as a whole, the scripture that underpins our whole project is the Isaiah 43, see, I am doing a new thing, which I think for us at the moment during the COVID time has been really apt, because about making way in the wilderness has been really at the forefront of our minds, about how we appear to be, you know, breaking the way in what is such a difficult time for people. As a project, we do a whole range of things, and I won't brain dump on you, because it can, you know, we have a Facebook page, look up, contact me if you want to know more, but we have a shop at the moment, so we're in the centre of town, accessing people, because as Ali said, this whole sense of mental health and isolation is a real problem for people. So at the moment we are in a situation where we can be around people and access people. But specifically about Christmas, I love Christmas. I think it's such an opportunity to do something for the church, such a wonderful opportunity, and I kind of describe it like you should be a big exploding confetti bomb of hope over everything. If you can't do it now, when are you going to do it? So each year, because our project works across such a large area, we tend to have to listen to the rhythms of what's happening within society as a whole. So when there was Brexit and a lot of unrest, we were listening to that through the year. You know, we talk to churches about what's going on in their own local areas. So we try and get a sense of what's happening for people. And also we try and use things that are culturally relevant. A few years ago, everybody was doing what's in the picture, you know, the nativity sort of stable thing, but photo booths were really popular at the time. So we pitched up in the galleries and did a nativity photo booth where we had a frame and people came and dressed up, and we shared the story of Christmas with them, because it was kind of culturally what people were doing at parties, and we twisted it to make it so it was a fun thing for people to engage with for Christmas. So we try and merge together this fusion of what we feel people are going through with what is going on culturally. I don't believe there's a secular split. I'm of the position that if God is in everything, then we can kind of use everything and make it belong to what we want to be doing and saying. And last year we did Christmas Around the World, where we took Christmas traditions and then wrote the history of them, linking it all into the Christmas story. And the thing that struck me, I think, last year, and bearing in mind I've been a church going, you know, for like forever, was the profound sense of importance of retelling the nativity, which I know sounds really silly, but actually this whole thing that actually was brought to people at a time when, you know, affluent well-educated people were being told about religion. And actually, you know, the first one was being told so ordinary people could be, you know, enthused and reinvigorated about this wonderful story of Jesus coming. And how it struck me last year, and my poor team got bored to death with me rattling on about this, was we tend as a culture to tell the nativity to children. You know, we do it in schools and in church, and it's little people that tell it, but actually the profound importance of this baby being born, you know, and the text we've used before is that God so loved the world that he gave his son. You know, God loved us so much. And how do we spread that love, and how do we retell it to actually not just children, but to everybody, that this baby was born for everybody, and the joy that that can bring into your life, and the love that can be shared. So it's kind of taken a whole new meaning this year for me, that this need to really share the nativity in ways of not just children, but you're just telling the story and getting other people to tell their stories. So in the year before last, we did a storybook box, which was people coming and looking at nativities, but then having a place where they could share their own stories of Christmas, because we also sit in a position, I think, of recognizing that for Christmas, as Ali said, for some people it's not a good time. So bursting around going, it's great, it's happy, we're wonderful, you know, people do want to be able to tell you how it feels for them, and they want you to hear that. So we have provided over the years, and certainly through the story box, places where people could pin, hang, tie, share, speak, you know, their stories to us, so you hear their narratives back. So it's not just us, it becomes relational, which is so important in pioneering and in work with people, that you are sharing something with people. So all those threads follow through everything we do at Christmas, this need to get this sense of, you know, you are well loved, you know, this was given to you, to everybody, you know, this isn't just kept for you know, a few over here, you don't have to be under 5. And also, you know, when you get adults to engage with nativities, they really enjoy it, because you find stories where they were not allowed to play Mary, or there was some sadness about something, and they will almost offload and transform themselves because you are allowing them to talk to you or dress up or do stuff. So this year is obviously a bit weird because of COVID, and like, I mean, it's funny, there's obviously a synergy between Ali and I. You know, a lot of what Ali has said, you know, reiterates through my projects, and I know other people who are on this chat who I know will be saying the same sorts of things about the need to, you know, respond to people where they are, to the loneliness, and also the great sadness that people are feeling. We got a bit obsessed in our project about lamenting, to be able to give space where people can actually rage at God, and even at Christmas to allow them space to express those things. So a lot of our thinking this year is around how we do that, obviously in a way that is secure and actually can also work with our churches. So a few of our churches are doing various trails using windows. I've seen in the chat that people have said about window displays. So we have a lovely artist who works with us, so we asked him to draw 24 pictures, and round the pictures we'll retell the Christmas story, which people can put up in windows, they can trail it. It's not encouraging people to go out in large groups, but it's something that churches can do. And then at the end, like Ali said, we're doing, this is so funny, we're doing Christmas in a bag, which seems, you know, is that we will, at the end of the trail on one day, sometime near Christmas, we have vans, a van, so we will pitch up and we will give out bags with Christmas stories and be a presence for people, so they can actually make connections with people. And also it means that churches, if they have other things going on, to try and encourage them, as Matt said, to encourage what comes next. It's great to do Christmas, but what else are you offering people after this? But if you do individual bags for individual churches, you can stick in, hello, we're here, or you know, we have online groups, or would you like a chat? And one of our village churches, we actually did a set of postcards through the summer, which had scriptures or positive thoughts on one side, and people could just write messages of hope, you know, messages on the other side for them. So churches can personalize the bags to show that going on, they're still thinking outwardly. So that has that thought of what is next. So, you know, you scatter the joy and the hope, but you're also saying, yes, but we're here after this. So we'll be doing Christmas bags, which will change depending which region we work in. So they'll be tailor-made to the individual settings. And some of that for Bristol will be about where you get food, you know, where you can get support through Christmas, you know, very practical things, rather than, you know, including the Christmas story and some chocolate, of course. So that's sort of the trail idea that is easy to do. As a project, we wander a lot. Wandering is something, as a sort of entity, the Ark, we've kind of coined it. I had a conversation with somebody where it's about the theology of wonder. And actually we found that by wandering a lot, it encourages people into conversations about Jesus and God and faith in a way, as Ali said, you're not ramming it down their throats. So we do things called notes of wonder, where we pick a phrase from the Bible or a well-known saying, and we say, you know, I wonder how this speaks to you. You know, I wonder how this makes you feel. I wonder where you felt happy today. I wonder where your struggles are. And during the summer, we created a set of these, which we hung around communities. And on the back, it has all our contact details, so they can access us in different ways. So the wanderings have become really part of our rhythm of our project, because it does engage people in conversation with you, because they're curious. And it's about being open to discussion, which again, you know, the people I work with when we're in the shop, we found has been really transformational for us, that you're really challenged to rethink your own stuff. And Neil, who's on this call, you know, always says, you know, if it doesn't transform us as people as well as the other person, then there's something not quite right. So the notes of wonder have become a really important thing. So during Christmas, we're going to do Christmas notes of wonder. And like Ali's done the pebbles and the bark, we're going to do hearts and angels. So there's an angel pattern that's been around for like forever from another project. So we're going to get all our churches to knit them, because again, it means that churches are doing something that they can do. They're actually, too often when you pioneer, people go, oh, I can't do that because I'm too old and I can't go out, or I'm shielding at the moment, or I'm ill. But actually by baking cakes or making angels or doing a million things, they feel invested in what you do. And then we talk back to them about the effect that that's had on those people. So there's that two-way growth thing going on in conversation. So we're going to get them to knit angels. And I've got a friend who is going to make us individual hearts. And we are going to attach our Christmas notes of wonder to, you know, the hearts and the angels, and hang them anywhere we can get a present. So in Broadmead, in the galleries, we will hang them all around there. You know, in the communities that we work with, we will hang them, you know, all around there. So there's a real blessing on the whole of Bristol. You know, we've said, you know, it's like the Northern Lights across Bristol, you know, that God is everywhere and you're just getting people to walk through it. So if you can bless as much of the area as you can, you just never know the effect that it's going to have. And so with your contact details on the back, you know, you're encouraging people to journey with you in a different way. And that's, it's so often what is the point of that? You know, when do you see the people? And sometimes we describe in our work that you're just nudging people, you're interrupting people. So the power of interruption is really powerful and important. So there's that dual thing of, you know, the church is providing yes, we're doing other things, but also that need just to do a mass bless of an area to say, you know, we're here, we love you, we're present. And certainly at the moment with COVID, when so many people are retreating inward, it's really important to be that light. finally, sorry to cut me off if I talk too much, is my fascination with light at Christmas. And my stepdaughter brought home one of those glowy bottles, you know, with lights in, that is all the rage at the moment, culturally very popular. And so we're toying with the idea of perhaps getting a whole set of these lights made in jars, and in some places doing a walking trail and lighting bottles, and then putting notes, almost like clues, where they could walk. So they're following the light. So obviously linking that back to Jesus and the Christmas story, but, you know, actually using the culturally relevant sort of shiny light bottle things, but in a way that is quite, you know, inviting. And there's certain areas across Bristol and South Gloucestershire we can do that. But then using the light theme in our churches, we have bought an awful lot of outdoor lights, and we're going to light some of the areas outside churches with lights, and then provide ribbons that people can tie ribbons onto the strands of lights and do reflections or prayers, but as a visual movement. You know, again, it's trying to get people to engage in faith in ways that are relevant to them, and not everybody thinks about it logically. As Matt said, it's the hunch, and Ali said it's the gut. So a lot of people feel the spirit but don't know they're feeling that. So in providing ways that they can express that, you kind of go, oh, that's God knocking at my door. So, you know, we understand that children learn in different ways, so people experience God in different ways, and so it's trying to find all those ways to let people express that. So we thought about providing slips of paper, but then of course you've got the whole pen issue, so we thought ribbons, and they can just tie them on to, you know, to fences. And these things have all been done before. I was saying at the beginning to Matt and Ali, a lot of the ideas that we have for the ark are never new. Last night we do a group and they were teasing us and said, oh, you know, what are you going to say that's new? A lot of this stuff isn't new. You wander around on holiday and around and you see bits, and it stores in your brain like a storage system, and then something happens in your community and you go, that I could use that. So sometimes it's cobbling together ideas that you've seen and being brave enough just to give it a whirl. You know, fusing together, I said, the relevance to what's going on in your community, you know, what people are feeling like, but it's almost, your brain has got to be like a store box of random things that appear no use. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to lay down.
Don't go anywhere. Jenny, thanks so much. It's so lovely to see the chat, how folks are discussing what they're doing, being inspired by what you're saying. So we're about to go into breakout rooms, and there'll be groups of 6 or 7, and use these rooms as a space to be inspired, to share about the things that have sparked your imagination. I'm going to just throw up some questions that might help. But being pioneering folk, you'll probably ignore them anyway and do whatever you want, but that's fine. We want you to go with your hunch about what you need to be talking about in your breakout rooms, and we will work hard on answering some of those questions that have appeared in the chat. It's so lovely that everyone's feeling creative, that you see that Christmas is going to be this great time of connecting with people in different ways as well. We never thought we would have all the answers. Indeed, I'm stealing a lot of your ideas you're putting in the chat, so thank you for coming and putting those there. So here's some questions, and we'll put these in the chat as well, so you can discuss them if you find them helpful in your groups. We're going to come back at about 3:15 to answer some questions and then have some final thoughts. So what sparked your imagination? What hunch might you follow this Christmas? What are you not able to do this Christmas that makes room for something new? Isn't it great not to have to be doing loads of stuff at the moment? That makes room for lots of new, amazing, creative stuff. And share your ideas and experiences that could be adapted for a COVID Christmas. So I'll drop those in the chat in a few moments' time. Emma's going to put you into groups now, but come back about 15:15. Make sure.
I think we're all back now, Matt.
Are we? Ah, fantastic. Well, I hope that you've had good time in your breakout rooms. I guess it's the inevitable. There's never enough time to talk about all the things you want to talk about, but I hope you've sparked some imagination, come up with some good ideas. Please feel free to put thoughts, more questions in the chat. It's been really lovely to see what folks are coming up with, and people interacting on there. So feel free to keep going with that. We just need to find Jenny, our other expert, and spotlight her. Hi, Jenny. And Emma's been going through the questions, some of the comments. So Emma, over to you to ask us some questions about pioneering.
Yeah, thank you. So do feel free to keep the questions coming. There were lots of comments and not quite so many questions. So if you've got more questions, perhaps that have come out of your breakout discussions for Jenny, for Ali, or for Matt, then do please continue to type them in chat. So I have a question. I think it came up during Ali's talk, but it might be interesting for maybe Ali and Jenny to address this. Who does the work? Your team that work with you, how did you recruit them? Where have they come from?
I mean, I'm lucky because I have 2 members of staff, two members of us, but we petitioned quite hard the circuit to actually fund us as a 3. So that's been really useful. They're sort of variable timescales. We rattle cages and invite people to come and join us, really, from churches and also non-church, because people around the periphery, will come and do these things. In the city centre, we have a lot of support from business, a lot of unusual sources, which if you ask them for help, they will actually help you. I think my dad always said, if you don't ask, you'll never know and you won't get. So that's been my general mantra through pretty much life, that you ask people to come and do things with you, and if they understand how much they're doing and what they're doing, they don't mind. And I think with people who are not confident, if they're with somebody else, they will do it. And also stressing to people actually that people always see, well, I talk for myself, us as being a bit like in your face, too enthusiastic, and you have to be like that to do it, and you really don't. You need all sorts of people to do this, because you will resonate with different people. So it's really important to bring out people who perceive themselves as quieter or shy or different, because they will pick up different people. It's very easy to take people who are like, yay, but it's not all those that you need.
Yeah. I think for me, to start off, love your neighbour. Obviously, I knew quite a few people in my community anyway, so I would ask people, and then they know people, and I looked out for people with those gifts and with those passions. So I knew the area that I needed to fill, and then asked around, anybody that could do baking, and then on top of that, would ask out on Facebook as well as personally, but also I got someone to create a skills matrix for me. So I got an IT person who would put out on Google a form, which then went out live, and then people filled in that form with their details. Sorry, that's my dog. And they would then offer their telephone number and the gift and the skill that they've got. And then I would contact them and have a chat, share with them the vision, what is going on. And then through that, I've got a voluntary skills basis, voluntary team.
Fantastic. And I think I would want to say as well, often we think the world doesn't want to help. Actually, if we believe God created all things and said it was good, that's a real blessing on what has started. We often talk about original sin, but actually it began with blessing and love. And I think that the people we engage with, there's a lot of folk that want to help, that will be passionate about what we care about looking after the lonely, the vulnerable, about folks who are struggling with mental health. Actually, folks will want to join us in that. And they may not be signed up Christians in a Christian community, but they care about things. And it's great to work in partnership with them. So we need to partner, not think that we've got to do it on our own. There's lots of folks that will join us in the things we care about.
That's great. Thanks so much. So questions are continuing to come in. So thanks, folks. How do you finance the work that you do, Ali or Jenny?
Okay, so for me, I'm really lucky because there was a legacy left for the Horror project, which is, there's still money in it. But it's really incredible when you just ask God to provide. things literally, I mean, I've been given, people that have turned up at my door with £400, a £200, a £20, and that just keeps things going. And then what I then do is I then put out a public thanks for those who have donated. It's been able to fund, and then I would share pictures, and then people would either come onto that link and say, oh, we would like to donate. And the other thing with the light party bags, I actually said they were such a success that we were doing a Christmas in a bag. And if people would like to donate towards this outreach for the community, and already we've got people backing money and sort of offering, and that really is how we do it. But our church predominantly started off funding it all. I'm really lucky. I've got an incredible circuit that have got the money there for this outreach, but people do donate when they see it, you know, it working.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, like Ali, we you know, we're lucky because we do get some funding, you know, we get some funding from the circuit. But again, I'd stress to people that, you know, that was a persistent nag on our part to fund our work. I mean, and they're really good, and they do support us. We also apply for local charities for stuff, because it's not, you know, it's a pot of money. So we go anywhere where there is money and ask. Like Ali, you know, prayers do work. And also when we do a lot of crafts and activity, and a lot of the stuff that we do a South Gloss show, a summer show, and all of that is making stuff, and all of those resources last year were given to us by local businesses, you know, because we asked them. So, you know, offcuts of wood, you know, tins, bottles, you know, fabric, you know, people will, we had so much stuff, we could have gone on for about a week, you know, because they just do give. So it's not always about money, it's about stuff. And again, you know, people will give stuff, and it's just about asking
yeah,
for it, really.
And I think I would want to echo what's been said there. Approaching local businesses, I've got experience of supermarkets switching on their ovens for us to cook us pastries for a big town event, really wanting to do that. Asking folks to donate mince pies to events, whatever it is that's there, folk want to give. But I'd also want to say that if your circuits don't have a mission pot, then keep badgering your circuit to put that one in. And I know that sounds a very structural thing, but ask the question of superintendents, where has all the travel claims money gone that we're not paying for mileage? Actually, some of that could go towards mission. The Christmas events that aren't running in our buildings that we put money into, actually that pot should still be there. So asking those questions of people that hold the purse strings within as well is important.
So I wonder if I can ask two questions in one, because I noticed we're running short of time and this is such a great conversation. So someone's asked a question about digital. Ali and Jenny, do you have any digital plans in terms of outreach? There's also a question about environmental issues. So things like tinsel obviously isn't great for the environment. Is that how have you kind of worked through those issues in your work?
Well, I'm not a techie type person, so I immediately found people that can do it for me. Obviously got my Facebook and my Instagram, and then we did have a monthly worship event, which I've now got on Zoom, worship and testimonies. So I've popped that on Zoom, using Zoom, but I'm really careful not to spread myself too thinly on the gifts that I don't have. So it's pulling those people in that can help to support you through that. So it is important to get it out there and get it, you know, again, Facebook I found, and Instagram, running those with sharing different things for those different outreaches with the people who know what they're doing.
Yeah, again, I would reiterate, I mean, Facebook has been a really powerful thing, and I think it's interesting when you look at the numbers. If you consider every time somebody sees something, that's like you meeting somebody potentially, you know, they will have seen you, and it is sometimes it ranks into thousands of, you know, of people who it's time to build up those numbers. One of our trails, I'm not technical at all, but again, like Ali, we have people who can. One of our trails in Parkway, because of the nervousness of going out, is being done as a real Jessie tree advent card, and then the images that they insert is going to be online. So they actually fill in the advent calendar by going onto our website and looking at the character, and then they can download it and attach, you know, and print it off and attach it. So that's kind of a link because of that nervousness about being out. But no, I mean, Facebook has been, and also somebody said, and annoyingly it's true, you have to keep doing it. It's no good to do it once and then go away for a week. you have to keep saying things, and we do a blog and, you know, all the normal stuff. But it's like anything, it's persistence, isn't it, Ali? You just have to keep going.
Yeah, it can become too time consuming. So with me working on my own, trying to keep updating those Facebook pages, it's an awful lot. But yeah, just do what you can and just put things out there.
Shall I share the Methodist digital stuff that's going to be online, Emma, while we're here? Yeah, so God With Us is the central campaign of the Methodist Church. It's going to be both printed materials that you can share with your neighbours about saying God is with us, but it links to a website, findingourhope.co.uk. That's not live yet, but will go live before the beginning of November, and that's going to be stories of people in the Methodist Church sharing how God's been with them in these difficult times. Some really moving stories about how faith has helped people that have lost loved ones, how God has been with folks in difficult times. So watch this space for that and become a part of it if you want to. Also, to say, some free resources are floating around from the East Anglia district. If you want to upload an animation every day to Facebook or your other social media feeds, you can find them. Let me move that there to eastangliamethodist.org.uk. Online resources, Advent animations there. Also some still images if you want to download those, they're absolutely free. So yeah, that's some other digital stuff that you might find helpful. Okay, any other questions? No, Emma's not grilling us anymore, so it falls to me just to say a big thank you to Ali and to Jenny. What is your one bit of advice as we go on our way? What do you want to say to folks? Just one sentence to send people on their way into this amazing thin space that is Christmas and pioneering.
Well, it's somebody else's. It's easier to apologize and ask permission. and sometimes you just have to do it. You just have to get on and do it. But yeah, just do it.
Yeah, I would agree. Really follow that gut feeling, listen, pray, follow that gut feeling and just give it a go. There is no such thing as failure with pioneering. Things that don't work, you can just change and be excited. You know, just it's great to get Jesus out there. It's absolutely fantastic.
Wonderful. Well, we finished 45 seconds early, so we didn't touch on environmentalism and Christmas, but if we find anything, then we'll mail that out to you afterwards. We'll talk about that. Any resources that come up as you're thinking about Christmas, please share them with us, and we can share them with other people as well through our social media. Watch this space for the Evangelism and Growth social media feed springing up at the end of next week. We're really excited about that. But for now, thank you and have a wonderful Christmas, and see you in a webinar soon.